I think from the experience, I don't think I should keep my hope up, right?
No, keep your hopes very high. It's
Very
gonna be
high,
awesome.
all right.
It's going to be a great time. So, we've been really busy lately. I've been really busy. But I'm not going to make excuses. I failed on my promise to deliver an inside look every month consecutively because I missed December. And I'm sorry. But I'm going to make it up to you. You see, I prepared for you quite the doozy today. Because you're not just getting January, you're also getting December. This is the ultimate super inside look to go over the past 2 months of what we've been doing. Also, I've prepared an awesome tutorial for you guys that's got to do with photography. It's going to be fun, it's going to be great, but before we get into that, we first have to go back to December to see what we were doing.
Is this going on your behind the scenes?
It sure is. You know it. You know it. Let's go get the tree. It's holiday season. It's holiday season. And it's time to whip out the good old Christmas tree, which is stuck in this thing here. Here's a stand. I'll hand this to you. I'll put these flowers down here. And ba-bam! There's our tray. Why are you laughing?
Where's it going?
We're gonna bring it in here. We're gonna debate where we're gonna put the tray. Ta-da! Look how beautiful it is. Look at that. Where do we want to put it? Do we want to... Let's see.
I thought it was a lot smaller. I was thinking we'd put it on the desk, but I don't know if that's gonna...
Cool.
Anything can happen.
Oh, wow.
It fits.
Why are you laughing? Now I feel like you're lying.
Don't put this in, Sam. Sam, the editor, don't put this part in. No.
Whenever anyone says that, I have
It's going to go in.
I have to put it in.
Perfect. Now there's a star and an angel on top. We still gotta put the ornaments up.
Yeah, the ornaments up. All right. What in the world? Got some little geese in there.
Yeah, remember there's the people that go under
The
it.
people that go, I don't even remember these guys.
Yeah, well, because you never came in last year in the winter.
That's true, that's true.
Oh.
Do you want me to grab the placemat?
Sure. Thank you.
Is it plugged in? No.
Is what plugged in?
The light. I can get like electric.
Oh, I didn't even realize the lights were already on it.
Heck yeah, they were.
How lazy could we be?
Sure did.
Most assuredly.
This makes me sad.
Same. Careful of Yoshi.
Oh no. Thank you for joining our Christmas tree decoration, guys. It was a great time. Right, everyone?
Yeah!
After a long day of work, I like to go home and do some photography. I love going outdoors and being in nature and just taking some shots. So it really de-stresses me and puts me at peace. The thing is we're in the winter months now. That means the sun is going down sooner, and that means that there's less light for me to take advantage of. In fact, by the time I get home, it's already dark out. So I can't really get any good photos, right? Wrong. On today's episode of Inside Look, I'm going to be teaching you about long exposure photography. Now, what is long exposure photography? It's the act of allowing your shutter to remain open for a longer period of time, letting more light in, making for a well-exposed photograph. But Sam, why don't you adjust for exposure using the aperture or ISO? Well, my friend, we have lots to teach you. The reason why you want to be using your shutter speed to adjust and get your exposure right is so that you have control over your ISO and your aperture. You see, when it comes to ISO, you don't want to push it up too high. The higher you push it, the more you're straining the camera sensor. The more you're straining the camera sensor, and the grainier your image will be. Typically, there's a point at which you reach an ISO so high that it's just not a usable image. It's just not good. So that's why you want to remain at a native ISO or somewhere in that ballpark so that you're not straining that sensor. With aperture, well, you're shooting in very dark conditions. And even if you have a really fast lens, like a 1.8 or something, it still probably won't be fast enough. Another reason for adjusting your shutter speed as opposed to your aperture is because it allows you to maintain control over your depth of field. When I go outside, I often like to shoot landscapes. And for landscapes, you want greater depth of field, keeping everything on the various planes in focus. Now, the way of doing that is you stop down your aperture, so you're closing it and allowing less light to come through. So we're going to have to compensate for that loss of light by extending our shutter speed time along exposure.
What? What's now? What week is that for your inside look?
This is from my inside look.
Right, but for what week?
It's for the month of December.
Oh, for the month now, so it's
Mm-hmm.
monthly now, huh?
Oh, sure is. So I'm calling everyone up to make their choices, to make their picks. I already got Brett out here
Okay.
with.
So it's my turn now.
Oh no, I'm just.
Picked yet.
We haven't picked yet. We're gathering. We're gathering, Hong. It's part of the holiday spirit is to gather as one and to make our holiday
Can we just grab the names
swap
already?
picks.
Yeah.
Huh.
You can bring it up. I found it.
Print.
Talking
Yeah,
about
print.
printing.
Where?
This is part of the holiday spirit.
Oh my god.
It's the holiday spirit.
Printing? Printing's not part of the holiday spirit.
Okay, are we picking right now?
We
Yeah.
indeed. Who wants to go
Okay.
first?
I should put on my thing to make it look more a little bit Christmas.
More
Christmas.
Christmassy? Because this is red, right? It's full of Christmas color. We can have another debate on colors. Yeah, since you put on
No, say
this
just
one,
go.
around the circle.
So do I like
Don't
it?
announce it.
Let
Just
me see who I like, and then
Yeah.
which
What feels the best.
If you get yourself, just put.
All
that in.
right, let me see.
Make
Don't
sure it's not you.
let's say yeah.
Okay, good.
Got it. All right.
It's actually it's her. She's like, yeah, I can get myself.
She's always gonna be like,
Whose hat is this?
This is the GoPro bag.
Alright. So get myself down.
All right. And then Brett.
big money, big money, big money.
Cookies?
You know who you got? All right. I'll go.
Is Eric gonna do it now?
Oh, he is. Yeah, I picked for him.
He-
I'll
Okay.
send him.
Yeah, he will be whatever, whoever's there.
Whatever they tell him.
And finally, I'll switch with you, and then you can
Pick
Pick out
the many that are
one.
left.
Exactly. Watch, it's like yourself.
No.
All right. So we all made our picks.
Okay.
We all know the rules, right?
Okay,
So-
what's the rule?
10
Say
to
it again.
$15 gift.
10 to 15.
We'll decide on a date when we can all meet because I gotta contact Eric. We'll meet and we'll swap. It'll probably be after Christmas though, but it'll still be during the holidays. So it just continues.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Well,
All right, can we have this? I mean, maybe you all don't know about what the others like or dislike. So can we tell what we want?
For long exposure photography, you're going to need a camera, of course. Another thing that you should have is something to stabilize your camera with, like a tripod. One last optional piece of equipment that's good to have for this type of photography is a remote shutter release button. I'll get into a bit later why you want to have that. I don't have that with me, so I will also be showing you how to shoot this type of photography without that. Another last thing you can use, you don't need this whatsoever, but you can have a flashlight and you can have some fun with it. And I'll show you a bit of that as well in the next segment. So let's go and shoot some photos. So as you can see, we have our camera here set up on our tripod so that it keeps the camera nice and steady. We'd also like to have a nice remote shutter release button. That way it keeps our hands away from the camera, because when you take that long exposure, your shutter is open for a long time and it'll pick up any movement you cause to your camera. And even when you just click that shutter release button on your camera, you're still going to cause a bit of shake to the image. So it's good to have that. However, I do not own one of those because they're a bit expensive. But a little trick is to switch your camera to the timer mode and set it to like 5 or 10 seconds. Click the shutter release button and your hands are away from it once the shutter goes off 5 to 10 seconds later. So now I'm going to go turn the lights off and we'll take the photo. So here's our picture. As you can see the cameras in front. It's actually, I didn't expect this, but the exit sign in the studio is creating this red light, as you can see on the back wall, kind of silhouetting out those cameras there. And this was shot with a 30-second exposure and an ISO of 3200 and an f-stop of 5.0. This is what the photo would look like if it were adjusted to your naked eye. So now we're going to talk about how you can further control your image using a flashlight. I'm going to do something called light painting, and this is when you kind of paint your scene to make certain areas of your image stand out so it attracts the eye to it. So the camera that you saw in the last shot I took, I want that to be more prominent in the photo. You know, it's not just a silhouette. Now it's standing out and it's the subject of this photo. So I'm going to paint some light onto it so that you get more of those details in. So let's go ahead, turn the lights off again and take another photo. So here's the photo. It was shot with a 10-second exposure, f-stop 8.0 and an ISO of 800. You can see that I stopped down a bit and also lowered my ISO so that I could get that exposure to be long enough to allow myself to paint the scene. And as you can see, it beautifully highlights the details on the camera to make it stand out more and bring the camera more into the forefront of the photo, making it into the subject of this photograph. Turned out pretty well. I like it. And the way that you do this light painting is you kind of brush the light on your subject as if you're brushing with a paintbrush and just doing some strokes. Now we'll do one last thing with light painting that's pretty fun. It's called drawing with your light, and it's pretty much you point the light at your lens and you just draw an image and you can get some pretty cool stuff out of it. So let's see that. So here with this photo, it's the same settings as the last one with that 10-second exposure. And as you can see, I drew with the light. I tried to outline myself. It didn't really come out as I was hoping it would. Maybe I'll try this photo again. But if you're wondering what's happening here, because your shutter is open for so long, it's capturing the motion of the light moving, and it's creating that line, that drawing of the light. And this is going to happen with all sorts of stuff that's moving within your frame. So you have to keep that in mind. Whenever you do long exposure photography, it's going to capture every bit of motion that happens from when the shutter opens to when the shutter closes. So just make sure to keep that in mind. If you don't want to have that much motion in your scene, don't have it be in a really busy area. But sometimes it can look really cool. You can make really cool photographs out of it. So use it to your advantage.
This one's for you.
This one's for. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Sam, you wanted to tell.
I didn't realize.
Shots too.
Careful. I
It'll
think.
be a Jack in the Box.
Oh, that would be so great.
Right, because know what a Jack in the Box is.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Because you were like, I cooked for one. So. So I got you. It's like an
7-inch.
individual skillet.
So you literally can't cook right
Cook for
now.
one.
My mom will be like, "Ooh, what you cooking?" I'll be like, "I don't know."
Nothing for you.
Nothing for you. Oh,
It's got a lid and everything. Look at that.
Look at
That's so cute.
that. Wow.
It's like
I
the
love it.
pictures online make it look kind of big, and
Yeah.
then you forget how small 7 inches is.
What? Oh, it's electric.
Yeah.
So, like, you plug it in.
Oh, I thought you were serious and you said you put it over fire.
Oh no.
I thought that's what it was too. I thought you.
I was like, what if he doesn't have a
Sam, Brett know that you like nature, so that one you.
I can take it out
Yeah.
on my hikes or my
Yeah, you
camping.
need a
trips.
long
Well, I mean, it's,
extension
I was gonna
cord.
say, it's like
No, it's not
finding a
fire.
tree with power in it.
It's a long extension
I see a new
cord.
show.
A new
Cooking
Sam.
with Sam.
Cooking with Sam.
Cooking with Sam, only for Sam.
Cooking for one.
That would be so sad.
I like that.
Well, thank you, Brett.
You're welcome, Sam. High fives.
Huh?
Awesome.
Oh, all right. I love that everything's still Christmas. Like,
Please, this bag's been used like 4 times. Somebody gave it to me, somebody gave
Yeah.
it back, or whatever.
nice. I do love. The thing is, like, I have a collection of coffee mugs at this point. You know, like I'm.
I know. It's
They're awesome.
An artist friend of mine is a potter.
Those are cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's inside?
Are we allowed to trade afterwards?
I like it.
Yeah, I got a sweet coffee mug, which I will use, and
It's a
then
beautiful one.
things that
I love.
Add to your coffee.
Yeah, add to my
little
coffee.
Irish coffee.
Little things I can add to my
Oh,
coffee later on while not at work.
They're not open, so
Yeah,
it's okay.
exactly. Nothing. Yeah, and then at Dunkin's, you know, so I can get a Dunkies, make it Irish,
Oh,
and
it's
put it
like
in
a
a cup.
whole.
Wow.
That's a nice
It was my wife's idea.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I do
That's a
love
good
the mug.
idea.
That's awesome.
Okay, Janine, that plastic, that one for you.
This one? Recycle.
Love the wrap. Yeah.
Oh. Double wrap.
Yeah.
Socks. Keep my feet warm. Oh my god, I love these socks.
You do?
Yes, look at. I even have other ones on right now.
Oh. I use my psychic power.
You're supposed to take the
Suck
part.
it out.
Know that you like
Are those like
For weeks now.
are those like the $500 ones?
Oh, I still have this.
My
Oh,
mother used
no,
to do it all
no,
the
this is
time.
not the real price.
She had a coupon.
Yeah, see?
Oh, pretty.
See?
Nice.
Hope it fit you, Janine.
Nice.
Some cardinals?
Oh, that's cute. Pretty. Thank you. Thank you, Fawn.
Hug and kisses.
Well, that works into a great segue. Because, Fawn, guess what? I got you.
Oh, tea. Ooh, I
Oh,
love
perfect.
tea. Herbal tea, delicious. Sleepy time. Am I allowed to drink?
Don't drink it at work. Drink it every time Mom has.
I figured
But then
that
you could have some Irish coffee to kind of pick you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow!
What is that?
it's.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I just found out this year. I don't usually walk downtown Medfield and buy Christmas gift, but this year I walk and I stop at the butterfly.
Yep.
And I bought this for Queenie and Allison, and they love it.
Oh, there you go.
Wow! And I didn't buy it for me because it's sort of expensive, and I don't think I need it. Thank you, Janine.
You're welcome. Perfect.
Thank you. It smells really good.
I was like, this is.
Was it hand lotion?
Well, either one.
Oh, okay.
But it's more, it's, you know,
It's still closed.
is it? It might have to.
I think it's
What
closed.
happened?
They might have a.
Oh yeah. Try it on.
What?
Janine, you already smell Janine?
Yeah.
Fred?
All of us first.
Hopefully
We all get
Sam?
Is this animal testing?
No,
We
it's
all get
supposed,
red.
no, it's supposed to
Hey, bird.
be. It's supposed to be
And I like
organic and none of the bad stuff, paraben free.
Yeah.
No alcohol, no pigment, no dyes, no animal testing.
Oh, it smells much better than your other lotion.
That's
No
why-
offense,
Yes,
Mom.
I know.
I got it from home.
Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Ah. Happy holidays, Eric. Here.
Nice.
Driving gloves.
Nice gloves. Thank you,
No,
I hope you
Rachel.
need gloves. I didn't really know what you like.
Gloves are perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
close
you.
always.
Yeah.
I got a
Absolutely.
pair of mittens from
Oh,
one of
they're
the girls
touch.
at
I
work.
can play on my phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
I
touch
was
ones.
thinking while you, I don't know if you, well, I guess football
Oh, so you
season's
go through-
almost over, isn't it?
Oh, it's hockey.
Yeah,
I
but
need these in hockey.
Yeah.
Because usually it's colder inside than it is outside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so you can go through your phone with.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I can handle my my camera.
What is
Well,
it
my
that?
you can touch computers.
They work.
So I
usually
can
when you're-
I can work my camera while I'm wearing these
I
things.
did not know that.
That's great.
My gift.
Who used the
big-
label maker
a
on my
big
gift?
deal.
I can't imagine
This is for
who.
Rachel for
Oh.
So I was at Sam.
The
I was
label.
hanging out with Sam last week, and his mom goes, "So did Sam give you his present yet?" And I was like, "Oh, no, he didn't."
You
But
ruined it, Ma.
is this the label
That's why
maker?
that's why she's not getting my food. This is the label maker. It was
Can we
too nice.
guess?
That is
Can we guess what it is?
It's gonna be up.
Painting
No, I think
files.
that's
Oh, like a ball to exercise?
From that.
no, from your files.
A ball to exercise.
Oh, it's from me.
Yeah.
It's from mine.
Exercise
Oh, I
ball.
already know
What is
exercise
it?
ball.
Therapy.
It's on the bottom
You
of the
calling me
bag.
fat?
No.
No, it's sitting on the table.
Oh, okay. I'm
I
like,
think
why is
it
that in
might
there?
be a plushie type of toy.
I think it's a giant
Oh.
jawbreaker.
This smushes.
You might be right. I love getting
It's a very distinctly colored Yoshi.
I was looking for red Yoshis. I saw shopping around Boston and I was like, that's Rachel.
Now we're all gonna be like napping and
I know.
No. Now
Fred's
you
gonna be
have,
walking around like
now you have a booze.
Sam will be cooking.
I'll be making
That's
our
so
own meal.
cute.
Very nice.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, that's so cute, Sam.
Oh, that's good.
I
I think
know.
it's just supposed to be.
You have to really keep it
What you
because
call it? Dusting.
Oh yeah.
how do I say it?
Clean.
Because it may
Tired
no,
of
it
it.
may be stolen.
Yeah.
We're ready to go to well. Annually.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Inside Look. I hope you all had a great holiday season. And don't forget that you can keep up to date with everything going on here at Medfield TV by following us on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Also, something you might have noticed throughout this episode is these new computers here. And I'm just going to tease this now. We'll get into this more in the next episode of Inside Look and give you more of a look at what we plan to do with this new year moving forward. We have a lot of exciting things in mind and we can't wait to share it with you. Continue to have a good time. Oh man, that was so good up until that point, and then I messed it up. I always mess it up. I don't know how to close these things, as I've said many times before. Anyways, I'll see you. I'll see you around. I'll see you sometime in the future. I'll see you then. Bye. Bye. Yeah. Bye.
You'll be surprised.
Are there any more today?
No,
didn't think that you guys want to eat it again today, so I didn't bring them.
I let Sam have the third one yesterday.
Yeah, I did eat.
That's what I was wondering. I was thinking of who ate the third one.
What kind of dumplings?
Oh, it's what do you mean? What kind?
What's it?
Like veggie.
Veggie dumpling.
No.
That's why they say that. Oh.
She looks at me, she goes, who didn't like these? I said, why? She goes, because they have vegetables in them. And I was like, you think I'm a carnivore? Like, I only...
I know they eat veggie stuff, so I brought in like 3 yesterday.
Nice.
I ate like the paper on it, so it's like.
Yeah, he went right
Yeah,
through
he
the
ate
paper.
the paper yesterday, and then the whole evening he was like.
It felt like there was something stuck in my throat. I thought it was part of the dumpling. It looked like it was part of the dumpling.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
What was that paper for? To hold it together?
It's like
So
on the-
it's gonna stick when you cook, I guess.
Oh, like a parchment paper?
Yeah. Sam just bit right through it.
I ate like half of it, and then they're like, "That's paper," and so I was like, "Okay, I won't." eat
I'm
it."
sure some sort of vitamin for you.
Yeah, fiber.
Yes.
I mean, we noticed right away, but we waited till you ate half of it.
Well, thank you. Now I got my fiber in, so
Yep.
my poops will be good.